suck a cheetah's dick? No. Oh yes, cause guess who whooped Batman's ass again? Someone who also told you to suck a cheetah's dick. You're not gonna win the lotto either. Rest in peace, rock over London, rock home, Etobicoke. Ford Nation. Built to last. I was laying down from the...
Well, if I had the courage, I would pour into your jar all the things that I have heard you.
I finally picked up a copy of Peter Kropotkin's Mutual Aid Today, A Factor of Evolution, or whatever the subtitle is. And, you know, I've always had kind of some sort of anxiety of influence when it comes to the anarchists, because I was first rendered aware of the philosophical alternative that is anarchism at some point in high school, when I got a little bit more into that Tony Hawk game and realized the first song on it was a Dead Kennedys song. And little did I know that Jello Biafra would proceed to destroy my adolescence and, as it turns out, my adulthood now, stuck in Toronto here. We're not a single band, incidentally, has ever been signed to Alternative Tentacles, which is not a surprise to me given the cultural bankruptcy of this horrible carnage culture of, you know, Bay Street genocidal politeness. But there's an election going on. I guess one guy is offering cash, which, you know, right now would probably be kind of nice for me anyways. Some strange woman named Christia apparently thinks that she can give everyone free land, which is kind of weird given that the land is stolen, so I don't know how that's supposed to work. So she's giving us free land, Andrew's trying to give us cash, and Tim, I think he's in the Arts Council or something, he's giving grants out. It's like Tim's got the grant, Andrew's got the cash, and Christia's got the free land because she's a racist, and works for a racist government on stolen territory like they all do. And their signs kind of look the same except for the color and the picture of the, you know, shit-eating grimace or whatever that thing is supposed to be on their faces. Except for Freeland, she's got kind of that solemn, like, you know, it's necessary kind of look, creepy, confused, maybe had some unfortunate romantic circumstances or something like that. They probably all have, just by the looks of the photos. But, you know, don't judge a book by its pasty, annoying, boring looking cover, I guess. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, so Joseph Proudhon, who I still, again, anxiety of influence, I haven't really, well, okay, let me back up a bit. The first philosophical anarchist that I ever read was by accident. It was the first year of university at the University of Alberta. I had a good English teacher. I forgot her name, but maybe I'll say it later because now I feel guilty. I've been reading Dostoevsky as well, so the guilt is being fully indulged here. Anyways, I just remember she wore a kind of punk rock looking leather jacket a couple times to the class, and we were reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Since it's October and I'm already looking forward to Halloween because that's when everyone dresses the way they want without fear of being made fun of by assholes, which are apparently everywhere. Not everywhere, because that would be literal hell. We're only in figurative hell here in Toronto. Just waiting for, you know, whatever, U.S. America to give us the next cue. Anyways, so we're reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and turns out, you know, her parents were like the Anglo-Saxon version of Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir. I keep coming back to this, but it's just hot. Okay, let's just face it. It's fucking hot. An intellectual power couple, if there ever was one. William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft. Wow. Anyways, they had a daughter, Mary Shelley, who wrote a masterpiece when she was, 18 or something like that. came to be one of the great inspirations for horror cinema many decades later. Frankenstein, we were doing some sort of project about intertextual analysis, and the instructor passed around a sheet that had a list of all the works that Mary Shelley was referring to or alluding to throughout the text, in ways that, you know, if you didn't do your homework and look further into the work, you would notice that all these allusions and all these themes were at play that are referring to Mary Shelley's own exposure to the literature at the time, and all sorts of literature that came before that time, and experience growing up with this incredible pair of people. Anyways, so the list, I was pretty much at the end of it. I got last dibs there, the bottom of the barrel of Frankenstein. So that's a greasy, disgusting looking barrel. And you might get electrically, shocked if you're not careful. You don't wear your PPE or whatever. So anyways, I looked at this list, and I think there were 2 or 3 choices left. And there were 2 of them, I can't remember, just really looked kind of silly. And then there's one that said Godwin, a theory concerning political justice, or an inquiry concerning political justice. I saw the name William Godwin. I was a pretty virulent atheist at the time, and just even the sound of like God winning or something, like, what God, what are you talking about? I was judging an English guy by his title. It's fun, but you can get carried away sometimes. William Godwin, an inquiry, that was the other thing. This is the title. An inquiry, it just sounded so bland. It sounds so dull to me at the time, at least. I was reading a lot of Jean-Paul Sartre, and Husserl, Heidegger, and existentialists and the phenomenologists, blah blah blah, some Kierkegaard in there. And I just thought an inquiry concerning political justice by an Englishman just sounded like a real dry piece of work. 2 treaties concerning whatever. So pedantic. And this is a problem in the text once in a while, but it's got a charm to it, because Godwin's no slouch, as it turns out. I went and picked this book up, and I was expecting some kind of bizarre, dry, like Rawls' theory of justice 200 years ago kind of thing. At that time, I was in blissful ignorance of John Rawls. But anyways, that's another story. Rawls for lulls. Gotta lull you to sleep in that blind veil of ignorance bullshit argument. Anyways, so where was I? Yeah, so I thought like John Rawls point minus 2.0. What is this crap? I looked at the cover, and immediately I was floored. I was intrigued. This thing, first of all, it looked like a brick. He could use it as an assault weapon, which is not something that Godwin himself would endorse, or me for that matter, because it's a good book. You don't just go throwing that around unless, whatever. Anyways, it was an 800-page tome, and on the front it had a picture of this like terrifying, monstrous dragon blowing fire all over the place, and he had a crown on, and I don't know, there was a cross, there was all these things that I couldn't stand to look at, but but for a context like this, where there's a dragon involved blowing fire over it and looking really evil, because that's what the argument is in the text, or the conclusion anyway, so I won't give the argument. That'll be another 20 videos down the road. But according to his argument, it's the church and the state, and also I guess the educational system, all of them together are oppressive and wrong and irrational. And this is, in short, this is the first 800-page whatever, the first kind of philosophical statement in the Western tradition of political anarchism. It's beautifully written. There's a lot of really nice lapidary passages to sew on your little pillow before the book fair, or whatever it is that you anarchist people are doing these days. I missed the book fair. Couldn't make it. I didn't have any money anyways. Send me an e-transfer if you get a minute, if you don't mind, because telephone companies are really barking up my tree right now. Anyways, where was I? So I read that, and well, I never got around to Browden, but I know he's a spouter of paradoxicalities and so on. It's kind of like the Heraclitus of French socialism. I don't know. He famously proclaimed, infamously, notoriously, however you like to see it there, proclaimed that property is theft. And now that's a great motto. Sew that on your pillow right away. Pronto, Toronto. If you're so inclined, you have a needle, you got some thread. Property is theft. Okay, but my question is, well, what makes property theft? Of course, it's the fact that it's private. It's the privacy of property. Well, one that makes it into property, one could say. It deprives others of, the so-called right to use or abuse or whatever it is with the property in question. It deprives them of the right, and it's supposed to give you some sort of privilege, privileged access, that it's yours now, it's privately yours, you own it in private. Now, it's going to take a while to develop this thought, and I'll just do it some other time. I just wanted to make a note of it here while walking back and forth in a dark street that doesn't have so many cars. I almost saw someone who might have either been killed or seriously injured today by a car, and it's really sad. I hate cars. I've been car whispering lately. Just one person in a car. It's disgusting. Unless it's really important, man, like bucko, like what's with a man throttling? What's the point? Is it that important that you have to put people's lives at risk just to get there faster, you bum? Anyways, air conditioning sucks too. Unless you really need it. I mean, cars, they should be completely available to people with disabilities and people that have an emergency. Problem solved. It's like, cut it out. The minerals come from the fucking wars that are fought for this fuel, like destruction of the planet just to get your car going. So you can, they kill more than 1 million people per year. Very minimum. 1.25 million, which is basically the estimate of how many people got murdered at Auschwitz-Birkenau over the course of 4 years, from 41 to 45. So, like, any argument for why you're gonna get in a car by yourself to just get somewhere, like to go to a party or go talk about some shitty Netflix show with your miserable girlfriend or whatever it is, like, gross. People's lives every day, daily slaughter of the highways. Saw Giorgio Agamben, another, I don't know, I think he's almost like a closet anarchist because he doesn't really come out and say what he wants to say. I guess that's cool or whatever, but I love his books. I'm sorry, Giorgio, but it really ticked me off. I had a friend, I asked a friend. I think they offered, it was really nice of them, thanks Oliver, to ask Agamben a question. We got to meet him in Italy last year. And I said, well, why don't you talk more about genocide? And Agamben said something like that. I almost called him Giordano Bruno. Anyways, Giordano. Anyways, said he doesn't use the word genocide because it's, I don't know, some kind of sensationalist thing that is full of misleading, abuse. And, well, again, it's just like people who don't like horror movies. They say they don't like them because they're scary. And I say, well, that's the reason I do like them. I'm not saying I like genocide. I hate it. That's why I scream at people all the time, because it makes me sad and I feel guilty and complicit. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the reason Agamben gave for not talking more explicitly about genocide, dropping the G-bomb, as it were, is the same reason that I think is important to talk about it, which is that, yeah, it is the most abused and sensationalized concept probably that ever, got paraded around by swamp creatures across the Homo sapien so-called Earth. Whatever. Or so-called Homo sapien. Homo so-called sapien Earth is what I meant to say. Not a so-called Earth, it's just Earth. Sorry, Earth. Anyways, so Proudhon said that property is theft. Let's get back to the main thread here. It's saying what makes it property? It's privacy. It's the private character that makes it property. And all the legal apparatus that goes into justifying that myth and enforcing it with guns. Anyways, violence and oppression, exploited labor, you name it, residential schools, all the other bullshit that they fucking do just to separate people so they can line their pockets with their mediocre violence and hate. It's just sad. It just replays like a bad rerun every fucking generation. Nobody knows how to stop it because they're too scared. Anyways, so Proudhon said property is theft. My rejoinder to that is that privacy is theft. Get it? Privacy is theft. Private life is a sham. Nothing should be secretive. Especially if, and this is going to Godwin, this is my favorite part of the book, it's classic chapter on sincerity. The kind of threat that open frankness, or whatever you want to call it, I just call it like being a public human being rather than a privatized being in a false public and hiding all your secrets to go along with it like everybody else. It's like privacy is theft. You can look at it a few ways, and I won't get into all of them, but because it's been rattling around like a fucking lost, what do you call, earplug in my brain for the last 6 months or something. But one level of it also is that privacy is a sham. It's something's being stolen from you, namely what is falsely called your privacy. Anybody who wants it can get a lot of information. Everyone knows that if they pay the right people, and the surveillance apparatus there is alive and well. And so privacy, like, it's a completely penetrable privacy if you rock the boat too much, in a good or in a bad way. So, it's your privacy for what it's worth, which is, in my opinion, nothing, as a Godwinian in this respect, is that you don't have that anyways. You don't even have your fake privacy. What you do have is all these secrets and bullshit. Keep to yourselves in a completely repressed way, because guess what? If you don't, you get fucked. You get excluded. You get fired. You can't do or say what you want, even if it's harmless, even if it's just an expression of your thoughts. That's why sincerity is better than privacy. Privacy is theft, not just property. Property is theft because of privacy. People need their little fortresses to hide their misery, okay, under the gun, in an intergenerational context of genocidal camp capitalism. How many times do I have to explain it? Well, apparently, the more times that I explain it, the more people avoid me in the hallways. Anyways, thanks for listening. Just remember, folks, Andrew's going to give you cash. Tim might give you a grant if you make a good enough proposal. And as for Christia, she still thinks stolen land comes for free, but it doesn't. So, jeez, I'm not even getting to the blue guy. I think he's got a Getty image somewhere in Conrad Black's basement. It's his only poster, I think. Anyways, fuck Andrew Shear. And suck a caribou's ass. Rock over London, rock home Toronto. Philip Morris, 20 more, same great taste.